Apparently, dolphins chatted up like you and me. For the first time, researchers claim to have recorded a pair of dolphins having a conversation. They said they found dolphins have a highly developed spoken language.
For decades, the ocean has been whispering secrets that humans could not understand, faint clicks, distant whistles, and haunting melodies echoing through the deep. For centuries, sailors told stories about dolphins following their ships, as if guiding them, saving them, or even warning them. Few believed those tales were anything more than sailors' superstition, until now. Because hidden beneath those songs was something no one expected, a complex, living language, one that artificial intelligence has just begun to decode. What scientists discovered inside those calls has shaken our understanding of intelligence, history, and the boundaries between species. And what the AI found shocked everyone. Stay with us, because this is the story of how machines finally gave voice to the ocean. Dolphins have always existed at the edge of human understanding. Playful, intelligent social creatures who seem to laugh, to mourn, and to dream. They don't just make sound, they craft messages. Every whistle, every burst of clicks, every slap of a tail on the water's surface carries meaning. It can signal danger, summon family, or express emotion. Scientists now know that these are not random noises but carefully structured phrases, a language evolved for survival, memory, and connection. Dolphins call each other by name, recognize themselves in mirrors, and coordinate hunts with a precision that rivals any human team. Their communication flows like music. But beneath the rhythm lies something far more sophisticated, an ancient code that AI would soon prove to be one of the most advanced communication systems on Earth. But sound is only half the story. Dolphins speak with movement, too. A leap through the air can announce joy or triumph. A roll beside another signals affection. A head emerging from the surface in perfect silence can be a warning or a greeting. In their world, movement and sound blend into a single living conversation, a kind of dance language, centuries older than humanity's first words. For humans, these gestures looked like play. But for dolphins, each motion was deliberate, a fragment of dialogue passed through generations. And while we spent decades trying to teach dolphins our words, we failed to realize they already had their own. The first real attempt to decode dolphin language began in the 1960s, a time when humans were just starting to imagine talking machines and intelligent aliens. But instead of looking to the stars, scientists turned their microphones toward the sea. The United States Navy, fascinated by the dolphins' ability to navigate, echolocate, and communicate, began studying them, not for conversation, but for strategy. They mapped every whistle and click, hoping to find patterns that humans could mimic. Some researchers even tried to teach dolphins English words or simple vocalizations. The results were mixed. The dolphins responded, sometimes imitating human sounds, but true communication remained elusive. The human mind could not keep up with the speed, complexity, and precision of dolphin speech. We were trying to teach them our language when we hadn't yet learned to listen to theirs. That changed in the 1980s with a woman named Dr. Denise Hertzing, a marine biologist who believed the key was not in speaking but in listening. She founded the Wild Dolphin Project, a long-term study of Atlantic spotted dolphins in the Bahamas. Year after year, she recorded their sounds, mapped their behaviors, and watched as generations of dolphins interacted in the same families and territories. Each dolphin, she discovered, had a signature whistle, a kind of name unique to the individual, used by friends and family alike. They called each other across vast distances. They mourned the loss of companions. They comforted the young. Slowly, patterns began to emerge, not just in what they said, but how they said it. The pauses, the repetitions, the rising tones, all mirrored the rhythm and logic of structured speech. But human ears could only catch glimpses of meaning. Dr. Hertzing's recordings piled up, tens of thousands of hours of sound. The language was there, waiting to be understood. All that was missing was the right listener. That listener arrived not in the form of another scientist, but in the form of artificial intelligence. A new generation of AI, trained to analyze vast, complex patterns, had already mastered human languages, learned to compose music, and even interpret bird songs. When Dr. Hertzing's decades of recordings were finally introduced to the algorithms, everything changed. The AI was called Dolphin Gemma, an advanced neural architecture designed to detect structure, rhythm, and meaning in nonlinear sound. It was built not to mimic but to understand. Scientists fed it recordings from the Wild Dolphin Project. Over 50 years of clicks, whistles, and movement data cataloged with timestamps, behaviors, and social interactions. For 72 hours straight, Dolphin Gemma processed the information. Millions of acoustic events, thousands of dolphin interactions, all mapped, compared, and analyzed. The goal was simple: to find the hidden grammar of the sea. The first breakthrough came quietly. One morning, a researcher noticed that Dolphin Gemma had identified clusters of sound patterns recurring in different dolphin pods, always under the same circumstances: when a mother reunited with her calf or when a pod gathered before hunting. These clusters were not random. They carried syntactic markers, beginnings, middles, and endings. The AI wasn't just hearing sound, it was reading structure. Then came the first translation, a single, coherent phrase represented not in words, but in meaning. The dolphins had a way to say, "Together again?" The lab fell silent. It wasn't a trick or coincidence. The phrase repeated again and again in reunion scenarios. For the first time in human history, we understood not just a dolphin sound, but a dolphin thought. From that moment, the project accelerated. Dolphin Gemma began recognizing layers within the sounds, tonal shifts that altered meaning, overlapping clicks that modified emotion, and even harmonic frequencies that seemed to express intensity, like punctuation in human language. It learned that dolphins don't speak linearly like humans. Their communication is multidimensional. Clicks can convey factual information, while simultaneous whistles express emotion or urgency. In one sound, a dolphin can say who they are, where they are, and what they feel. Human speech, by comparison, is painfully slow, and yet the AI was catching up. By combining neural translation models with oceanic behavior data, it began reconstructing fragments of dolphin memory, references to events that had happened years before. Mothers referenced calves long grown. Older dolphins recalled changes in the sea, shifts in currents, and migrations of prey. These were not just signals. They were stories. The scientific community was stunned. The AI had found evidence that dolphins possessed episodic memory, the ability to recall and describe specific events from the past. That kind of memory was once thought to belong only to humans, and it meant that dolphins weren't just living in the present moment. They were remembering, recording, and retelling. The ocean, it seemed, was an archive, and dolphins were its librarians. As Dolphin Gemma improved, it began comparing sound archives from pods all over the world: the Caribbean, the Pacific, the Mediterranean, even the Indian Ocean. The data revealed something extraordinary. Across vast distances, dolphins shared common linguistic structures, the same word for danger, the same phrase for reunion. But there were differences too, dialects, accents, and local expressions that varied from one region to another. A pod off the coast of Hawaii might describe a shark with a low, rumbling whistle, while one in the Atlantic used a sharp, triple click. The meaning was the same, but the sound differed. The ocean, like humanity, was multilingual. What shocked scientists most wasn't just the diversity of the language, it was the depth of it. Dolphins weren't limited to direct meaning. They used metaphor, symbolism, and even idioms. One recurring phrase puzzled researchers for months. It appeared during calm seas, often when older dolphins swam beside the young. Translated through Dolphin Gemma, the phrase came out as "singing with the tide." At first it sounded poetic, too human to be real. But analysis revealed its meaning. Go with the flow. It was a proverb, a lesson passed down from one generation to the next. Another phrase, chasing the silver cloud, meant pursuing something rare but fleeting, like hunting a school of fish or seeking a distant opportunity. In human terms, it meant nothing ventured, nothing gained. If true, it meant dolphins used metaphor, abstract thought once believed to be the hallmark of human cognition. This wasn't just communication, it was philosophy. It was culture. Even more startling was the discovery that dolphins could communicate in overlapping speech, something humans can't do. Their anatomy allows them to produce multiple streams of sound simultaneously, using separate parts of their voice box. Imagine being able to say two sentences at once, one emotional, one factual, and your listener understanding both perfectly. That's what dolphins do. To humans, it sounds like chaotic noise, but to dolphins, it's harmony. When dolphin Gemma finally learned to separate and decode these overlapping layers, a new level of understanding emerged. In a single burst of sound, a dolphin could say, "There's danger nearby, but I'm not afraid," one message layered over another. This ability changed everything we knew about communication itself. It meant that dolphin speech was not bound by the same linear limits as ours. They think, speak, and react in layers, like chords in music, where each note carries meaning on its own, but together creates an emotional symphony. By now, the world was paying attention. What started as a quiet research project had become a global sensation. Documentaries, universities, and even tech companies joined in, eager to push the boundaries of interspecies communication. But for Dr. Hertzing and her team, the excitement was mixed with a kind of awe and unease. Because the deeper they went, the more they realized that dolphins might understand far more about us than we ever imagined. Some recordings captured wild dolphins, mimicking the hum of boat engines long after the boats had gone, not in fear, but in what sounded like imitation. Others showed pods responding to human divers with altered whistles, almost as if trying to adapt their language for our ears. And then, in one stunning encounter, Dolphin Gemma translated a phrase exchanged between two dolphins near a group of humans. The meaning was chillingly clear. They have forgotten how to listen. As the research progressed, the AI began to draw connections that no human scientist had ever noticed before. It wasn't just about words or phrases, it was about patterns of interaction. The dolphins' clicks weren't random. They carried emotional tones, changes in rhythm, and even pauses that mimicked human speech patterns in astonishing ways. Researchers observed that a single click sequence could alter meaning depending on the context, just like how the same word in human language can change meaning depending on tone or expression. The AI recognized this nuance, identifying that dolphins were communicating with a complexity once thought impossible for non-human species. This realization changed everything. Suddenly, the boundary between humans and other intelligent beings didn't feel so clear anymore. But the real breakthrough came when the AI detected a consistent sound pattern used whenever dolphins interacted with humans, particularly those they recognized over time. These signature whistles, as scientists called them, were unique to each dolphin, like a personal name. However, the AI noticed something even more astonishing. Dolphins were creating new sound variations in response to certain human actions, especially during collaborative activities. In essence, dolphins seemed to be inventing new words for humans. For years, people believed dolphins could understand a few human commands, but now it appeared that they were actively naming us. This discovery sent waves through the scientific community. It suggested not only that dolphins could communicate complex thoughts, but also that they could perceive relationships and assign identity, traits once considered exclusively human. By the time the researchers confirmed these findings, something remarkable happened. The dolphins began responding to the AI's synthetic calls. When the computer played certain click sequences back into the water, the dolphins reacted immediately, forming circles and exchanging sounds among themselves as if in discussion. Then, in one unprecedented moment, the AI emitted a newly generated pattern based on dolphin greetings. What followed stunned everyone watching. The dolphins swam toward the sound, paused for a brief moment as if to process, and then responded with a pattern that matched almost perfectly. For the first time in recorded history, an artificial system had spoken in the language of another species and been understood. That moment, captured in underwater footage, became a symbol of what technology could achieve when curiosity meets empathy. After this event, The tone of the research changed completely. The scientists no longer saw the dolphins as mere test subjects, but as collaborators. Many researchers reported emotional experiences, moments of connection they couldn't fully explain. Some described feeling as if the dolphins were aware of what was happening, consciously choosing to participate. There were even instances when dolphins appeared to initiate interactions with the recording devices, as though wanting to continue the conversation. One senior researcher admitted that the first time she heard a dolphin mimic a tone of human laughter, she cried. It was no longer about decoding sound patterns. It was about bridging a divide between two worlds that had coexisted for millennia yet barely understood each other. As the AI continued to evolve, it began creating visual representations of dolphin language, mapping sound frequencies and patterns into complex geometric shapes. These images resembled spirals, fractals, and flowing waveforms, each representing a type of message or emotion. The visualizations revealed that dolphin communication might not just be auditory, it could also carry a form of spatial or visual intelligence that humans had never considered. The AI's data showed that some sound sequences corresponded with coordinated group movements, like synchronized swimming or hunting patterns. Dolphins, it seemed, didn't just talk. They performed their language through motion, body posture, and timing. Their words were alive in movement. This concept shook even the most skeptical scientists, suggesting that dolphin communication could be the closest thing on Earth to a true multidimensional language. But the deeper they went, the stranger things became. The AI began recognizing recurring sound structures that appeared across different pods, thousands of miles apart. These were not identical but similar enough to imply a shared foundation, a kind of universal dolphin dialect. It was as if dolphins around the world spoke different versions of the same language, shaped by geography but united by structure. Some researchers started referring to this phenomenon as the oceanic code. It opened up the possibility that dolphins possessed a global communication network long before humans developed the internet. When news of this theory broke, the world reacted with disbelief and fascination. Were dolphins sharing information across oceans? Could they be warning each other about environmental changes, predators, or even human activity? No one could say, for sure. But one thing became clear. The ocean was speaking, and we were finally beginning to listen. As the project expanded, the team noticed something eerie. The AI began detecting sound patterns that didn't fit the established dolphin lexicon. These were rare, faint, and appeared to come from great depths, beyond where the dolphins usually swam. Some believed they were echoes or interference, but the AI disagreed. It classified them as unidentified communication events. When the signals were cleaned and amplified, they revealed rhythmic, structured sequences that no known marine creature produced. This discovery raised chilling questions. Were these deep-sea sounds another branch of dolphin communication, or something else entirely? Could the ocean itself be carrying an ancient voice we've yet to understand? For the first time, the researchers hesitated, unsure if they wanted the answer. Despite the growing mysteries, the practical applications of dolphin communication research were profound. Using AI-driven translations, scientists began developing underwater communication devices that allowed divers and researchers to speak simple messages to dolphins. The results were extraordinary. Dolphins responded, cooperated, and even corrected human attempts when signals were inaccurate. It was as if they were teaching us how to communicate. One memorable experiment involved a diver using the device to request help in retrieving a lost instrument. Within minutes, a dolphin returned it. These interactions proved that dolphins not only understood requests, but also empathized with intent. They weren't just reacting, they were cooperating on purpose. The impact of these findings rippled far beyond marine biology. Philosophers, linguists, and psychologists joined the conversation, each asking what this discovery meant for our definition of intelligence. If dolphins could reason, name, and empathize, could they also dream, imagine, or even tell stories? Ancient legends often portrayed dolphins as messengers between worlds, symbols of wisdom and harmony. Now science was beginning to validate those myths in ways no one expected. The AI's success wasn't just a technological victory, it was a moral awakening. It reminded humanity that intelligence isn't confined to land, speech, or opposable thumbs. It can exist in forms as fluid and elegant as the sea itself. Yet, as always, revelation comes with responsibility. Environmentalists quickly pointed out the painful irony. We had finally learned to understand the ocean's most intelligent inhabitants, just as their world was collapsing. Pollution, overfishing, and naval sonar had driven many dolphin populations to the brink. In one of the final project recordings, a pod's sound patterns were analyzed as expressing what the AI interpreted as distress. The researchers could never confirm it, but many believed the dolphins were warning of environmental danger. Some scientists described it as a cry for help, while others saw it as the ocean's way of holding us accountable. The moment became a haunting reminder that understanding another species also means feeling their pain. As the documentary footage of these experiments spread online, people around the world reacted with awe and reflection. Children listened to the translated dolphin sounds and asked if animals had feelings like humans. Artists composed music based on dolphin frequencies, poets wrote about interspecies connection, and philosophers debated whether we had just witnessed the first form of communication beyond our own kind. The world seemed to pause, if only briefly, to consider what it meant to share a planet with beings capable of thought, language, and perhaps even love. In the end, the AI's work revealed something far greater than a code or a translation. It revealed a mirror. Through dolphins, we saw a reflection of ourselves, social, emotional, intelligent, and fragile. The ocean, once silent to our ears, had been speaking all along. We just hadn't been listening. And as one researcher poetically put it, perhaps the greatest discovery wasn't that we could talk to dolphins, but that they were patient enough to wait for us to learn how. If you listen closely to the waves, you might still hear it, the rhythm of a conversation that began long before humanity existed. A language carried by the tides, shared between the ocean's guardians and the curious species that finally learned to listen. And maybe, just maybe, this time, we'll understand what they've been trying to say all along.